if you had to give, I mean, you've been through so much over the last 20 plus years. You've lived it all, man. Everything from working on it in your garage to bootstrapping to getting the product to market, getting it built, now having it ready, and then dealing with everything during COVID. I mean, you could write a book on, being an entrepreneur. Is there anything that you want to tell the aspiring entrepreneur that hasn't started yet, but has a really good idea? They just need to take the leap. Anything you want to tell them?
Well, I think people should, there's so much I could say. I could answer this on any given day. I could give you 10 different answers. So I don't think there's one distilled nugget necessarily that I have. But I mean, I would say, first of all, if you want to start a business, you should really try and do it. Don't live with regret. Get on with it. Be very realistic. Be realistic about how long things take. They're going to take a lot longer than you expect. Have a plan for how you're going to survive the long haul. Don't think that the only way to do things is that you've got to go out and raise venture capital or get investors or anything like that. Figure out if there's a way that you can bootstrap. There's an approach that's taken in all introductory engineering courses, which is where you're given very restrictive constraints and you've got to solve a problem. Instead of saying, solve a problem and you can use whatever resources you want, the question is always like, given spaghetti and glue, build a bridge, and it's a whole thought process. And it's one of the most valuable things in engineering thinking is given the constraints I've got. So I think that in many ways, what I think entrepreneurs who are starting out should do and think about is, given the constraints that I've got, what can I actually achieve? What's realistic? What isn't realistic? What can I do? Instead of saying, gee, if only I could raise, a series A, a seed round or whatever it is, gee, we could do this. And I mean, that applies to some businesses, but not every business has got the potential growth trajectory that you need for a venture capital payout. There are a lot of really, really good businesses that aren't going to grow at 40% a year or return, and they're incredibly good businesses and they're still worth doing, and they're going to produce products that are still worth doing. So rather think about, okay, given my situation, given what I want to do, how can I do it? Given all the constraints, how do I make this happen? And then you suddenly find out, well, I could outsource certain things. I could only go after this particular product and not those particular products. Actually, the problem that I can solve is I've got a product that solves 5 problems, but actually one of them is the most interesting problem, and it's actually not that expensive. Let me solve that problem. So there's so many ways where you don't go in with one idea, figure out you need $10 million, and then write a business plan and go and start and say that the problem I've got is fundraising. That isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is you've got to find a market for something. You've got to solve a problem. You've got to work out, define the problem according to your constraints, and then get out there and do it.
Very nice. Very good. If you could call your 21-year-old self, but how old were you when you got on the plane to come over for grad school?
I was 24 years old.
Okay. If you could call that 24-year-old and tell him anything today, if you could go back in time and call him, what would you say? What would you tell him?
Wow, that is a great question. I would probably say don't procrastinate so much.
Okay.
Time is short. I don't think I was lacking in courage or gumption or obnoxiousness or whatever, however you might want to define, the intestinal fortitude to kind of get out there and talk to anybody you want to talk to. But you can almost reach anybody in the world that you really want to talk to. If you want to ask someone a question, I mean, I've written emails at 11 o'clock at night to Nobel Prize winners to ask them questions, and I got an email back in 15 minutes. It's amazing if you just want to just get out there and contact people and talk to people, you can do it. And I never lacked for that, but there is a procrastination that goes on. It's like trying to decide, is this the best way or is that the best way? And the single worst thing that I ever heard when I was working in a big corporation was do it right the first time. That whole culture doesn't exist anymore. Like now it's all about rapid prototyping, fail fast. And in the early part of my career, all I was hearing this thing from the big corporation, which is do it right the first time. And it's just nonsense. There's no way to do it right the first time. Just get out there. So the advice that exists today is the advice that I really could have used way back when, which is just get out there, do it, make mistakes quickly.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
People know that now.
Very, very good, Clive. By the way, for the listeners, Thinklabs.com. Is that where they should go if they're interested in ordering any other direction for them there?
Yeah, Thinklabs.com is where they can start.
Okay.
And store.thinklabs.com is where they should finish.
Okay. Yeah, the website's got a lot of great information on it. You also have a YouTube channel with several great videos on them as well, right?
Yeah, we do. We get a lot of visitors to our YouTube channel, and it's got information about our product, and it's also got sounds, heart and lung sounds for medical education and for doctors and nurses and medical and nursing students to listen to different kinds of pathological sounds. So we put that out there as a free service to people.
Congratulations on everything you've built, my friend. I mean, really, lots of years of fortitude. I could use a bunch of other words, but you've really just been so consistent and tough as you've built the brand over these years. And here you are. I mean, congratulations. Really good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And it never hurts in this business to be a workaholic.
Right. You got that right, my friend.
The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit Riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.